Hi friends, today's topic is attached gingiva. After this video, I hope you'll be able to attempt question on attached gingiva in your exam. It will be of help to you in clinical scenario also while taking case history of the patient. I have included certain viva voce questions also in this video. As we all know that macroscopically, gingiva can be divided into three parts: marginal gingiva, attached gingiva, and interdental gingiva. Attached gingiva is firm, resilient, and tightly bound to underlying periosteum of the alveolar bone and tooth. Resilience means that it cannot be deformed under compressive forces. If we apply certain forces, it regains its own shape. Measurement of attached gingiva, we will discuss it with the line diagram. This line diagram will help you in exam also. You can draw such diagrams. And let's see. You can appreciate that this is marginal gingiva, right? This is gingival margin, and you all know that height of gingival margin is known as gingival zenith. From this gingival zenith to mucogingival junction, like from this to mucogingival junction, this is width of keratinized gingiva, or we can call it as total gingiva. From this, if we subtract the probing depth of this sulcus or sulcus depth, then we can get the width of attached gingiva. So that means width of attached gingiva will be equal to keratinized gingiva width minus sulcus depth. In this picture, you can appreciate that in what circumstances width of attached gingiva will decrease. If the total gingiva width decreases, like especially in the cases of recession, this is the amount of keratinized gingiva, and if we will subtract the sulcus depth, we'll get a less amount of attached gingiva. Or if the total gingiva is there same, from the gingival margin there is no recession, but pocket depth increases. So even in those cases, width of attached gingiva will decrease. If you cut the tooth, you have a vertical section or sagittal section and rotate it, you'll get this diagram. This is enamel, this is cementum, this is C-junction. This is marginal gingiva, and here you can appreciate this is a mucogingival junction. So width of attached gingiva will be total gingiva, which is measured from marginal gingiva to mucogingival junction, minus the reflection of sulcus depth on the external surface. So that means if you measure the sulcus depth, you will get the width of attached gingiva. You can appreciate in this picture, this is gingival margin and this is mucogingival junction. Gingiva is pink, mucosa is red. So this is mucogingival junction. So in this case, this distance is measured and sulcus depth is subtracted. And as there is recession, so total gingiva has decreased. So there is almost no attached gingiva with respect to this tooth, or we say there is inadequate width of attached gingiva. So width of attached gingiva is equal to total gingiva minus sulcus or pocket depth. And width of keratinized gingiva is measured from gingival margin to mucogingival junction. I have already explained. So it's very important to exactly see the mucogingival junction or identify the mucogingival junction. In certain patients, it is very easily discernible. There is a easily discernible difference between pink and red color. Gingiva is pinkish and alveolar mucosa is red. But in certain cases, sometimes it is not discernible or it is an area. So we have certain tests to identify mucogingival junction. One of them is roll test. You take a probe and start rolling it horizontally from the depth of the vestibule towards margin of the gingiva. The loose tissue will be rolled like this, but the gingiva, attached gingiva, which is firmly bound, will not get rolled. So this is to identify your mucogingival junction. Second test is histochemically. You can use a Lugol's iodine solution or Schiller's solution. It's a potassium iodide solution. This stains alveolar mucosa dark brown and attached gingiva is stained light brown. And this alveolar mucosa is stained dark brown because of the presence of glycogen. Third test is tension test. In the case of frenum, we can use a sharp instrument, the tine of the probe, to press. You actually stretch the lip upward and outward, especially in the case of maxillary labial frenum, and then you can put some pressure on the frenal attachment. You can see movement of gingival margin or blanching of gingival margin here. So then tension test is said to be positive. Or in the case of shallow vestibule, lower lip is stretched upward and outward, and if with the movement of lip there is movement of gingival margin, then we say that attached gingiva is deficient or inadequate and tension test is positive. Now coming to functions of attached gingiva, it gives support to marginal gingiva, provides attachment for movable alveolar mucosa for the action of lips, cheeks and tongue. Because it is keratinized, it's firm because of the presence of collagenous matrix. It withstands frictional stresses of mastication and toothbrushing. If patient will be having inadequate zone of attached gingiva, patient's alveolar mucosa will not be able to bear the stresses of mastication and toothbrushing, and there will be inflammation or there will be recession. The main function of attached gingiva is that it acts as a buffer zone between two movable structures, marginal gingiva and alveolar mucosa. So it prevents the spread of inflammation from marginal gingiva to the deeper structures, and it provides resistance to the tensional stresses exerted by skeletal muscles of alveolar mucosa. So it prevents the retraction of gingival margin away from the tooth every time we use lips, cheeks and tongue. If there will be inadequate zone of attached gingiva, whenever you use your lips, cheeks or tongue, your gingiva will be deflected away from the tooth and there will be food lodgement, there will be constant injury. Even if you go for therapy, the wound won't heal. So it acts as a buffer zone between these two movable structures. Now the question arises, how much attached gingiva is adequate? In literature, there are conflicting views. Some authors say that if patient is able to maintain oral hygiene, then there is no need of attached gingiva. Even minimum amount of attached gingiva is sufficient. But as we know that adequate width of attached gingiva will enhance plaque control, will improve aesthetic and reduce the inflammation around restored teeth. According to Lang and Lowe, 2 mm of keratinized gingiva with 1 mm of attached gingiva is adequate to maintain gingival health. And for all practical purposes, we almost feel that 2 mm is the adequate width of attached gingiva. Why? We will see in the next. These are the viva voce questions, like width of attached gingiva is 3.5 to 4.5 millimeter in maxillary central incisor region. Maxillary premolar shows almost 1.9 mm. Mandibular central incisors 3.3 to 3.9 mm. And mandibular premolars 1.8 mm. Minimum width is reported here. Lingually, posteriors have larger width of attached gingiva than the anterior one. So almost 2 mm of attached gingiva is considered adequate. But for if we want to attempt subgingival restorations or we want to go for orthodontics, we need to have more attached gingiva. So that is beyond the scope of this video. We will make a separate video on different studies, different authors' views, basically for postgraduate students, that what are the conflicting views and what is the scientific evidence behind that. The next question is, there is no distinct mucogingival junction on maxillary palatal surface as palatal attached gingiva blends imperceptibly with palatal mucosa, which is bound to underlying palatal bones. So there is no clear mucogingival junction on the palatal surface. Third question is that mucogingival junction remains stationary throughout life. It marks the junction of alveolar process and the basal bone. Now let's see why width of attached gingiva increases with age and in supraerupted teeth. If we talk about age, we know that deciduous teeth are smaller in size, and when there is a change from deciduous to permanent dentition, the alveolar housing increases because the size of tooth has increased. So we know that attached gingiva is attached to alveolar bone as well as to the tooth. So if the size of alveolar housing has increased, we all know mucogingival junction is stationary. So then total width of attached gingiva increases. And second condition is that in supraerupted teeth. In supraerupted teeth, width of attached gingiva increases if tooth has healthy periodontium. Tooth grows coronally because of the active eruption. And even if the antagonist is there, then it has to compensate attrition. If antagonist is not there, it gets supraerupted. And when it gets supraerupted, it brings along with it its alveolar housing. And as we all know that mucogingival has to be stationary, it re-establishes itself. So the total width of gingiva increases. And if width of keratinized gingiva increases and tooth is healthy, and if we minus the sulcus depth, then total width of attached gingiva will increase. Thank you so much.